Hey everybody, and welcome to You've Got Some Nervous System. I'm Raun K. Kaufman, and today's episode is going to be about the 7 messages that your nervous system is trying to tell you. In this case, specifically through any unhappy or uncomfortable emotions. And this is very important and interesting because, our nervous system's telling us lots of things throughout the day, but there are important messages that come through any unhappy emotion that we have. And this is a problem in a way because most of us, when we feel anger or guilt or shame or frustration or fear or sadness or even grief, most of us spend a lot of time and energy trying to escape, get away from, step on, or get rid of those kinds of emotions. And then that's unfortunate because when you do that, you're not just pushing away the emotion. First of all, you're not getting rid of it, but you're not even pushing it away ultimately because what's still there is your nervous system still has these messages that it's trying to send you. From a good place, is trying to help you, is trying to help you survive, it's trying to help you thrive. It's only looking out for you. So when you fight these emotions, you fight your nervous system. And so I thought it would be helpful to you guys today to get an idea here of what are the 7 key messages that your nervous system might be sending you through these emotions so that instead of fighting or running away from these emotions, you could actually pay attention to it, fully feel it. By the way, I tell you how to exactly do that, how to fully feel an emotion in a previous video. So take a look at that. But in this case, just how to figure out through these emotions, once you fully feel it, you can start to become curious about, hey, this emotion, even though it doesn't feel good, it feels totally crappy, it's actually trying to tell me something. My nervous system is trying to tell me something important, and this is the way that it's doing it. Now, if you've ever heard me talk before, you'll know a key thing that I talk about unhappy emotions is that any kind of unhappy emotion is not just a message from your nervous system, but it's a specific type of message, which is basically saying, hey, something is out of whack. And there is something that you would need to do or have or pay attention to get back in sync. Okay, so that's the overarching message. That's not one of the 7 specific things, but that's the overarching thing that's going on. So these 7 things are sort of like, hey, one of these things is the thing that's out of whack that your nervous system is trying to tell you through these different emotions. Okay? So bear with me. This is it's pretty game changing once you really get this because it will immediately give you a different way of perceiving these emotions, different way of understanding them, and then probably most important, a way to actually then start to understand and receive these messages from your nervous system so that you can actually sort of solve the underlying issue that your nervous system is trying to tell you about, which will solve everything, right? So pay attention. Let's see which one of these most rings a bell for you, which one of these 7 things. So here they are. The first one, and I'm going to say this is the most of the people that I've worked with for the last 30 years. This is the most common. By the way, I've been doing this for 30 years. Like I said, I've been working with people on mental and emotional well-being, their emotions, their nervous system, and actually also at different points, communication and how those issues relate to communication. So let's talk about what these 7 are. The first one, most common one, is what I would call either incongruence, one way, or another, internal tension. I often call it internal tension or internal friction. And what that means is it's coming from, you're having internal tension because there's some fundamental internal contradiction that's happening. That's why I use the word incongruence, right? This is basically a situation where there's something that you know to do that you feel is really important to do that you're not doing, or there's something that you are doing that you think it's really important not to do. So in a sense, there's a contradiction, a conflict between what you really know is and believe is best for you and what you're actually doing, right? There's a disconnect and there's a push-pull there. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about a moral judgment here. The nervous system doesn't make moral judgments. It's just conveying information to help you. It does have a bias, which is to help you survive and help you be okay, but it doesn't have a moral bias. It's not trying to tell you right from wrong. But you have your own thoughts about right and wrong, and you have your own sort of inclinations and thoughts about what's really right for you. And your nervous system is going to notice when you have that strong feeling of what's right for you and you're doing the opposite, right? So when you do that, then your nervous system is going to register and reflect back to you that contradiction and that internal tension, and that's going to come out as an unhappy emotion, right? Now that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, but it means, hey, there's a push-pull here. There's an internal contradiction here, right? Now, is this the only cause? No, remember, it's the first of 7, but it is the most common. It is the one that over the last 30 years I have seen the most often. So you can pay attention to this. This can be, I'll give you some examples just so you can get what this might look like. It could mean you have this feeling, an inclination to talk to someone, your mom, let's say, but you're not doing it. So then that might register. Or the reverse, you're continuing to interact with someone that you really feel like is not good for you, but you're continuing to do that. That's going to register as a contradiction. So again, this isn't about what's right and wrong. It's about what is aligned with or misaligned with you and what you feel like is best for you. Okay. It's really good. If you start paying attention to this, you're going to be surprised. Number one, you're going to be surprised probably how often you do it. And 2, you're going to be surprised like, oh, I can see how this now connects with. This creates a tension and agitation in me. My nervous system registers that back to me. And then I feel angry, frustrated, fearful, etc. That makes sense? Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is unaddressed dysregulation. This is the second key message that your nervous system is trying to tell you through an unhappy emotion. So this could be different. Like I said, it's not always going to be that incongruence thing, even though it's very common. Second thing is unaddressed dysregulation. So this means your whole system is dysregulated, maybe because you've been overstimulated, maybe because you really run yourself ragged, you've done too much, or all different things like this are happening that are stressing your system out. And this is the key part, and it's unaddressed. This is key because it's different if you have you ever noticed this? If you just, for instance, feel tired, but you're on your way to go to sleep, that doesn't feel particularly bad, right? You're not usually going to have an unhappy feeling about that. But if you are exhausted all day and you're continuing to push through work and which means you're not addressing this issue that's happening with you, then oftentimes you'll notice you do get unhappy a lot. You do have unhappy reactions to things, right? So that's the difference there. It's the unaddressed piece that is really key in that one. So it's unaddressed dysregulation, okay? Number 3 is, and I was alluding to it, it's close to number 2, but I wanted to be specific because this is a common one here again, which is unaddressed fatigue and tiredness. Sometimes you're just tired and fatigued. There's lots of ways your nervous system can be dysregulated, but specifically, if you're tired or fatigued and it's unaddressed, that's often going to get reflected back to you as an unhappy emotion. So that's number 3. Number 4 might be interesting to you, which is, and I'm going to put, these are sort of 2, but I'm going to put them together in one of the 7, which is number 4, which is hunger/low blood sugar and or thirst/dehydration. So it's basically, you can just think of it as hunger or thirst, a version of hunger or thirst. And if you're hungry or thirsty, and again, especially the unaddressed kind, right? If you're sitting down for a meal and you're about to eat, it's a little different than if you're just hungry but not eating, right? And not about to eat, right? So when that's happening, that's going to throw your body off balance in a lot of ways. And sometimes that will get reflected back to you from your nervous system, because your nervous system needs these things to be resolved, right? Thirst or hunger, right? It needs these things to be resolved. So it's going to send you back different messages about it. Now, first, just to be clear, right? First, it's going to just send you back the hunger message, which is not an unhappy emotion. It's just a feeling of hunger, right? Same with thirst. When you're first feeling thirsty, that's not unhappiness. That's just thirst, right? But when you don't address these, then at different points, and this is going to obviously, it's not going to work exactly the same way for all of you. It's going to depend on who and how you are. But to some degree, if you then don't address that, then your nervous system is going to be your body's going to be getting more and more out of balance, and your nervous system is going to be doing more to try and send you this message. Now, remember, this is something, again, I talk about this a lot. It's really important. When you ignore these kinds of messages from your nervous system, what happens is your nervous system is still trying to take care of you. So it's going to do the only thing it knows how to do. And what is that? It's going to raise the volume of the message. This is why stuffing unhappy emotions ultimately doesn't work, even if it works for the moment. It doesn't ultimately work, because what your nervous system is going to do over time is it's going to raise the volume of the message until it feels like the message is being screamed at you, and it's often going to leak out in unhelpful and unhealthy ways, right? So that's numero cuatro. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 is eating. Think about this one for a second. It's kind of the opposite of hunger in some ways. It's eating something that's causing a biostorm or otherwise dysregulating you. Now, a biostorm is it's a word that me and my colleague Casey Wild, we just came up with. It's not like you're not going to find it in the dictionary, but a biostorm is basically, it has all the attributes of a storm, but a biological storm. So it can be, ferocious and disruptive, but it's also temporary. And this is different for every one of us. We don't all react the same way to all foods. You guys know this, right? Everybody reacts differently to different foods. But lots of us have different foods, many of which we keep eating, that cause biostorms within us and in different ways dysregulate us, but we eat them. Sometimes we do that every day. Sometimes it's just once in a while, or sometimes it's even because we've never had that food or rarely had it, and we don't know it's going to dysregulate us or cause a biostorm. So that happens once in a while. But usually we have an inkling. We do it anyway. In fact, the more divorced we are from our nervous system, the more shut down we are to our own interoception, which is our brain's ability to detect and decipher signals from the body, or the mind's ability to detect and decipher signals from the nervous system. The more shut down that is, the less clearly connected we're going to be with foods that are disruptive to us, right? There's people that as soon as they know exactly what foods feel good for them and not good. And then there's lots of other people. I know lots of other people that are pretty shut off to that. They're still eating foods that are disrupting their system, but they're really shut off to it, so they're not even sure which foods those are, right? And that's okay. I'm not saying one person's better than another. I'm just noting what happens when we shut down our own interoception over a period of time. So but this is the point, and this is number 5, when you eat something that's causing a biostorm or otherwise dysregulating you, sometimes, and not necessarily every time, but sometimes your nervous system is going to reflect that back to you. How? Through an unhappy emotion, right? Through fear or guilt or stress or anger or frustration or annoyance or sadness, all these different ways, or just anxiety. That's a big one. Actually, we're going to have a separate episode that's just about anxiety. But in this case, you'll notice this happens to people. There's a lot of people that are far more anxious if they're eating foods that are dysregulating them and are causing biostorms and are disruptive to them, right? So, yeah, you know that. You guys know that. So that's number 5. Number 5. You ready for number 6? Number 6 is unaddressed hormonal fluctuations. And no, I'm not making a euphemism about women or anything like that. This is for all genders, for everybody. Everybody has this. Actually, all of our hormones have different times when they bounce around a bit and go up and down. When that's happening to you, and especially if it's unaddressed. When I say unaddressed, addressing it doesn't mean you're taking a pill for it. Unaddressed could mean having an awareness. If it's addressed, it means you're aware of it. Maybe you're taking extra care of yourself. Maybe you're either sleeping more, or eating a little differently, or whatever you're doing, resting more, exercising more or less, depending, right? So you might be addressing it. But if it's generally happening and it's bouncing around and you aren't fully addressing it, which is fair enough and understandable, then yes, that can also be reflected back to you as an unhappy emotion. Yes, it's true. It's true. Unaddressed hormonal fluctuations. Absolutely. You'll be surprised, though, if you are prone to hormonal fluctuations. Let's say you get them a lot and you hear me saying this and you're like, yeah, duh, I know. Yeah, I know. I always flip out more when this and this is happening inside me. Yes, but actually, I would argue you could have the experience of being less on edge and flipping out less if you're more in touch with this connection. I'm not saying being in touch with it cures you of the hormonal fluctuations. It doesn't cure you of that, but being aware does mitigate it because you're now going to be more receptive to the message from the nervous system. And what happens when you pay attention and are receptive to the messages from your nervous system, including your emotions? When you're more receptive to that, instead of shutting it out, what happens? It lowers the volume, right? Because remember before, we were talking about how it has to raise the volume, but once it detects the information is being consciously received, because the whole thing is connected, right? We're all connected here. The nervous system is going to know that, and then it can lower the volume because it's like, oh, I don't have to keep raising the volume to get the message across. Okay, so that's that. Last one, number 7, is what I would call unaddressed stored emotions. Now, people talk about this in different way. My way, the way I conceive of this is not very like frou-frou. I'm not saying like necessarily that you like have an emotion and it's in your shoulder, although I know some people believe that and I'm not criticizing them. The way I would describe it is more you have an unhappy emotion or maybe a reaction to a traumatic event or maybe a resentment, and it's unaddressed. It's not fully acknowledged. It's not fully dealt with by you. And it's often like, let's say you're stuffing it. You've spent years stuffing it. Then oftentimes that will itself cause tension in the body. Just like the very first factor I was mentioning, that was the incongruence and the internal tension. This can cause the same kind of internal tension that will then bubble up and get reflected back to you as either, and this can vary, it will either get reflected back to you as the same emotion you've been suppressing, but not always. So for instance, sometimes if you've been suppressing fear for a long time, it'll bubble up as like an explosion of fear that's not really related directly to the current event that's happening to you. But sometimes it will be a different emotion. Sometimes, for instance, the suppressed thing will be fear, but the feeling you'll feel in the moment will be anger, right? But that's still coming from this same place of there's an unaddressed, stored emotion here that's going on for you that you are pushing down and not addressing, right? Okay, so those are the 7. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, guys. I'm going to cheat a little bit, my people. But before I cheat, I'm going to give you this 8th thing. Now, this is not, the reason I don't count this as one of the 7 for today's discussion is it's not actually coming from the same place as the other 7. This is another cause of unhappy emotions that is related to your nervous system, but it's not the same as in your nervous system is trying to send you a message that you're not receiving, right? It's not that. It's coming from a slightly different variation, which I'll explain in one second. Before I do that, I just want to tell you about something that is important for you to know and is specifically an aspect of it only happening this week. And that is that me and my colleague, Kate C. Wild, are teaching a course called Emotional Self-Defense. Okay, it's called Emotional Self-Defense, and it's basically about protecting your well-being in a world that manipulates, guilt trips, gaslights, and really pushes your boundaries. So if you're ever a person that, maybe you say yes when you want to say no, maybe you have difficulty setting boundaries or even just keeping and holding to the boundaries that you've already set. Maybe you sometimes adopt others' truths even when they don't align with yours, right? So you ever do that? I've done that in my life for sure. Maybe sometimes you feel like you have to justify yourself or your preferences or your boundaries. By the way, you don't, but I understand that a lot of us feel like we do have to justify that. If any of that's going on for you, or you feel like you're just not surrounded, but you have people in your life that you feel like are, can cause difficulty for you, then this is exactly what this course is for. It's as whether you have at coworkers or bosses at work, whether it's family members, whether it's friends, heck, even if it's somebody that you're married to, right? This could be useful to you because notice it's called emotional self-defense, not emotional attack or counterattack, right? It's not about putting someone else in their place. That's at least not our course. And it's really about emotional self-defense of you and your own well-being. So it's a really cool course, actually. It's just a one-day course. It's Saturday, October 3rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. So you'd have to translate that to the time wherever you are. It's a live Zoom course. It goes really into depth about the emotional, why some of this stuff works on you emotionally. So it works from the inside out because you start with that. We help you with that. And then we help you with, very practically, these sort of real world martial arts level self-defense techniques, emotional self-defense techniques, to how do you actually respond in a way that preserves your dignity, your well-being, your truth, your wants, your preferences, right? There are ways, really, people find this information, this course, extremely practical and extremely useful, so that we're going to keep it very grounded, very practical in this course. Anyway, it's October 3rd. It's from 10 to 3 Eastern US. Oh, I wanted to let you know, it's a live Zoom course, but if you really want to go, but you just you're going to be out of your country on that day, you can register for it. You can, and by the way, we have a flash sale where it's 50% off this week. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But you can register for it, and if you can't make it live, or maybe you did come live and now you want to see more of it again, you want to review it, you will have we're going to record it when it really happens, and then you're going to have 2 additional weeks to watch that as many times as you like. Why don't you have it forever? That's not because we're trying to keep the information from you. In fact, we give you a whole packet of really concrete, useful, very well-reviewed handouts that you keep that forever. The reason why the actual viewing is temporary is not because of what we're saying, but because all of you as participants, you're going to be participating and sharing things about your own lives. And we wanted people to feel really secure that was private and isn't going to be sitting on the internet for 5 years. And so we just schedule it to be deleted in 2 weeks. It gets deleted no matter what. So but it does mean you have those 2 weeks if you miss the event. Now, if you do want to do this, you really want to try to come to the live, because you'll get to ask questions, you'll get to participate in activities that we've specially designed to help you internalize and then execute these ideas and techniques. So it's definitely better to come live. But if you can't do that, that's the alternative. Normally, the regular price of that course is 150 buckaroos, smackarooskies. But for this week only, there's a 50% off flash sale. So if you do register by the end of this week, you're going to get half off, my people. You're going to get half off. So it'll only be $75 for you. Kind of a good deal. So anyway, think about that. Now let me go to this final item, which is outside the 7. You could call it the 8th. You could call it the 8th message. But it's not really originating from your nervous system in the way that the others are. Okay, so remember, I'm going to review the 7. We have incongruence / internal tension that comes from an internal contradiction of you doing the opposite of what you know to do, right? So there's that. There's unaddressed dysregulation. There's fatigue and tiredness. There's hunger / thirst. There's eating something that's causing a biostorm or otherwise dysregulating you. There's unaddressed hormonal fluctuations. There's unaddressed stored emotions. Boom. Now, here's this one. This one's weird. This one always weirded me out, even when I first fully got it, which is, it could be someone else's emotion. This is weird. This took me a while to wrap my mind around. It really could be someone else's emotions, meaning you're feeling some emotion, like I said, guilt or shame or fear or anxiety, right? You're feeling you're feeling that emotion, and it's not actually yours. It's someone else's it's not usually like a stranger's, right? I'm talking about it's someone else's, as in someone who's important in your life. It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be a sister or brother you grew up with, it could be your partner, your significant other, for sure. But a lot of times when we're very emotionally plugged in to someone else, or could be more than one person, to a group of people or different people, then what will happen is we will feel what we think is our own unhappy emotion when it's actually not ours. It's actually the other person's emotion. Now, our nervous system we're not faking our nervous system getting agitated. Our nervous system is starting to get agitated, but it's getting agitated because it's being told that we are scared or upset or anxious or whatever, but we're actually not. So you can get all the signs. You can get a faster heart rate. You could sweat. You could have all those nervous system signs, and it could actually not be your emotion. Isn't that crazy? It's really weird. It could be someone else's. So you want to start to pay attention to. I've found this question to be helpful sometimes, to ask myself and go like, is this mine? Sometimes I put my hand on my chest too and I go, is this mine? Is this feeling I'm feeling, is this mine? And usually it is, of course. But every once in a while, it will be like, oh, this isn't mine. This is so-and-so's emotion, actually, that I'm like internalizing as if it's mine. So that's another one to consider, at least start thinking about. So those are the messages that your nervous system's trying to tell you, guys. Your nervous system's trying to tell you, and again, is trying to tell you, in this case, with these, through unhappy emotions, which means these unhappy emotions, even though they feel unpleasant and uncomfortable and crapalicious, even though they feel that way, these emotions are not your enemy. They are not going to hurt you. They're not designed to hurt you, right? They are not your enemy. Now, again, little caveat that I put sometimes, which is that if you have a diagnosed mental illness and you have a therapist and I've worked with people like this and they have a therapist, and that therapist is like telling you, actually, in your case, you're having some issues where fully feeling an emotion and diving into it can really cause problems for you, then don't do it. Then don't fully feel it. You can still use this information, though. You can still have an awareness of this information, right? And for all the rest of you who are listening, this can be really helpful to then have a reason to plug in more to an emotion that comes up with you instead of trying to shut it out. Okay, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.